Information is power. Information is power. Information is power.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lions Den with another news and commentary. Earlier today, in this situation is kind of personal. We was at a Walmart right here in Antioch, Tennessee, when we were experiencing racism as well. A white man, we were just minding our own business. And my wife and I were shopping at a Walmart here. And he had this racist bastard. He had the audacity to say, you have 2 watermelons and you like watermelons, huh? But I'm just paraphrasing it, of course, but my wife could say what he said, later, but you're going to see it in this video that I'm about to be posted. But I'm going to show this to the world that even a YouTuber, a talk show host like myself just experienced racism right here in the state of Tennessee. So I'm going to tell you I'm going to go ahead and play this, explain my story. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, reaction will not show you the video, but you will hear the audio of what happened to me just a few hours ago. So I'm going to go ahead and play this, and I'm going to tell you the rest of my commentary. Hey, Facebook, how are you guys doing this afternoon? My wife and I, we went to a Walmart just a few hours ago, and we approached with this white guy, this white man, a racist white man, made some racist statements about the stereotype about the watermelon. So, and I'm going to, because my wife will tell you more than I can, because sometimes I'll be messing up what this guy was saying. So what did he say to us when we was at Walmart?
He said, "Oh, y'all got 2 watermelons. Y'all like watermelons, huh? Ha, 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 ha."
That's what he says. That's exactly what he says. And to me, I was about to go ham. I was about to go off. It took me, I think, took me like a few minutes, 15 to 20 minutes to calm me down when he made a statement like that.
And the guy next to you, the guy who was on the aisle with us.
Go ahead, say what you had to say.
The guy that was on the aisle with us, he didn't hear it, but he was wondering what was going on, because Thomas was so pissed off. And so when we told him, he was like, "Where's he at? Where's he at? Which way did he go?" And I didn't tell the guy which way he went because the guy would have got beat up, and then the black guy would probably
be arrested for assault.
So we didn't want that to happen. So we were just like, I don't know where he went, but we saw him. We saw which way he went. We just had to pretty much lie so that stuff wouldn't get started in that Walmart. So
yeah, I've been living here in Antioch, Tennessee, about a year. And I mean, living from the DMV, I know my high school classmates remember me that used to live in the DMV, and I've never experienced any racism until today.
Well, not that kind of racism.
Yeah, exactly, not that kind of racism until today. And for any black person, I mean, any black person that's been through like this, saying about watermelons, is a stereotype. I mean, like I said, I was a lucky one. I was calmly. Most other black men that I know will really beat the daylights out of this guy. Seriously.
Mm-hmm. And that guy right there, he was wondering where he went because he said he gonna beat his head in.
Yeah, he did. And so my thing is, ladies and gentlemen, that I felt really upset, and it took my wife to calm me down most of the time because, again, it could have got worse. It could have. I might be in jail. I could have gone to jail today because of what he said.
Yeah, you just went out the door.
And he luckily that I wasn't. Yeah, I was gonna say he was lucky that I was in a calm and right mind, because if I wasn't, I'm telling you, y'all gonna see me on the news being arrested for assaulting a white man for being racist. But at the end of the day, it could have got ugly.
Information is power.
Okay, everybody. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you all could hear and relate to what Lion's Den experienced, what he experienced over the weekend. I see we got BMT in the house. We got Brother Art in the house. We've got some folks in the house. China's in the house. Anita B's in the house. Brother Duvian is in the house. Anybody that I don't pronounce your name, no disrespect to you, I'll be showing you on the screen here. We got Sosa in the house. What's up, brother? We got 40 years in the house. Likewise Media. All right, my man Kenny, always a brother that comes through and gives. We got I think Jasmine's in the house. Thank you, sister, for being here. Oh, we got my man Mr. Male of Vice. Now look, everybody, this brother right here is a brother that I check him out on his channel. He's usually up very late doing some of his live streams. He's a brother from the Caribbean island of Jamaica. Very good brother. And he's building his channel. Go on and check that brother out. Give him some support. Check out his channel. Hit his avatar. The whole 9 yards. There's some good people in here. Everybody in the chat room should check each other out. If you are a content creator, I think that would be a smart thing to do, because we gotta help each other. Those of us that are content creators and those of us who just enjoy listening to different streams. And this brother is trying to build his channel. He's got good things going on over there. So that's Mr. Media of Vice. Check him out. Mr. Media of Vice. So let me consider to stroll up here to give a little bit of shout out to folks. I appreciate everybody for being here. We got the Dot in here. We got my man Raymond forever. Brother Raymond, I got to get you up here. But this is another brother who's been very supportive of the channel. He's got a channel. Everybody check him out. There you see him on the description down there. Check him out. Check his channel out. Click on his avatar and go on and support him. The brother gives great reviews. This brother's got to be one of the hardest working brothers I've ever seen. This brother has 3, 4, 5 jobs. He's hard working, takes care of his kids. They say that black men don't take care of our kids. That's BS. I've seen this brother physically on his YouTube channel, showing himself out there working and doing all types of different extra jobs to gain extra money to support his family, his children. And he's just a hardworking brother, a good YouTube channel, gives great reviews, and check him out. We got my man BMT. Check him out. BMT is a he does podcasting like myself. He's really heavy into building black men up. Very positive brother. Black Men's Congregation. Check him out. That's a good brother right there. And then we've got Miss, I have to say it, Miss Mohawk is in the house. Been very supportive. I'm glad that you're here and doing the things that you're doing, sister, being here with me. We got Faced by Personus. Hey, hugs all. Okay. An interesting face you got on that avatar. Very interesting indeed. And my man right there. Thank you. Hey, thank you, brother, for being here. So with that said, that was Lions Den, his experience. And what I'm doing with this stream tonight is that I'm talking about the South. I know that in this country, black people catch a variety of different hell and problems throughout this society historically, and even currently with some of these strides that we've made, some of the things that we have improved on as individuals and some of our communities. But black people still deal with this thing, racism, and people often say, why don't you stop talking about that? Go get away from that. Come on, move on. This the year 2019. It's the 21st century. Things still happen. And so Lions Den lived in Washington, D.C., which we know, according to Malcolm X, anything south of Canada is the South, according to what Malcolm X said. And so D.C. has its brand of racial problems too. But he moved from D.C. to Tennessee, and we know that black people over time have made a mass migration going back to from 1910, technically, into 1970. You had a mass migration of black people moving from the South historically into the North, and we know what the story is, for jobs and better opportunity. But now, in the 21st century, going on from 2009 to into 2010, within the earlier parts of the 2000s, there has been a reverse migration of black people leaving various cities, New York, DC, the big cities, LA, and going back to the South because they're saying that it's a better way of life, a better, cheaper housing, a better quality of life. And black people are moving there because of family, because a lot of black people, we migrated from the South and we have a lot of family there. So the question is, the brother experienced some racism. He talked to me about it. I talked to him about it personally. And my question to everybody in the chat room is that, has the South changed? Because you got people saying, oh, the South is the new South. And I personally think that the brother experienced what he did is because the South hasn't changed. Okay, let me open up disengage from this right now so that you can see me and Lions Den. I appreciate everybody that's here. We're going to get into a good discussion tonight. How y'all doing? And here go my brother right here. Let me see if I can get him on there. All right. So we're here tonight. It's going to be a great discussion, everybody. I hope everybody out there has had a good day, great day, wherever you are this evening. I thank you for coming over and joining me in Lions Den. But I want to, there's an article I dug up, and it says this: one reason why white people in southern states still have a higher rate of bias against black Americans. New research finds that white Americans are more likely to hold unconscious racism against black Americans if their home region was once heavily dependent on slavery. So historically, white people, particularly in the South, were very heavily dependent on black labor for moving that cotton, that slave labor. It was a big part of their economy, of their economics, which is one of the reasons why this country went into a civil war. Okay, now the racial bias is often discussed in in psychological terms as a defense mechanism, a product of emotional immaturity, a way to project one's fear and insecurities onto others. So with that said, we're going to get back into this data. I've got some great things I'm going to put on the screen for everybody out there. Peace to you, everybody. If I'm not able to, normally what I would do before I started using this new technology that we got, I would normally highlight people's name and say, what's up? But I'm basically going to read what you say at the bottom of the screen and interact with you like that. So I hope everybody understands that. We got to keep everything going smooth. With that said, Lions Den, disengage. I'm going to disengage yourself unmute yourself, brother. Say what's up to everybody out there. If you want to shout anybody out, if you're looking at the chat room through another device, you can shout people out. Tell your story. I played the sound bite as to what happened to you and your wife. It was a terrible thing, but it's actually, brother, I'm going to keep it honest with you. This is what America was built on. Bottom line. So with that said, go right ahead and tell everybody out there how you're feeling right now, what the experience was for you.
Hello, everybody. It happened on Saturday. It's supposed to have our 1-year anniversary. We went to Walmart and here in Antioch, Tennessee. So, and by the way, Antioch, Tennessee is the home of the Waffle House shooting, for those of you who don't know. But what happened was my wife and I, we were minding our own business, and we was grocery shopping at the Walmart. So, you know, we was trying to buy like soap and shampoo and whatnot. And this white guy came along because we bought some watermelon for snacks and whatnot.
Right.
So the white guy, the racist white guy came up and said, "Oh, you got 2 watermelons." And my wife and I look at each other like, okay, yeah. And he was like, "Oh, you guys like the watermelons, huh?" And we already know the mentality, what he was saying. It's racial overtones when he said that. And, you know, if it wasn't for my wife and it wasn't for me being calm the way I am, you probably would see me on the news somewhere in jail here in Tennessee for assaulting this man. Because that is basically an insult. It was racial. We got racial overtones. It was like stereotype when it comes to black people we eating watermelon. And his brother was really down the same aisle as we were. And you know, he didn't know what was going on. He saw the reaction we had, but he really didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. So my wife and I told the brother, and even the brother, the young brother himself, want to know where he is. And we had to lie to him to let him know that, you know, he's gone, whatever. But we already know where he's at. We just trying to protect him, because what if things will pop off? Him and I not only will be kicking out of Walmart, we might end up going to jail for assaulting this white man because that racial stereotype of him saying about the watermelon. So that's basically what happened. And, you know, again, like I said, it was basically my wife calmed me down. It took me 10 to 15 minutes to go outside and put the groceries inside the car to calm me down and going back to the Walmart, because again, I would have popped off, I would have said something, it would have been on, and it was crazy info.
Okay. Let me I'm getting some I'm gonna ask everybody in the chat room how the sound is. I'm still kind of paranoid because I'm getting some it's not coming from you, I think it's coming from me, but everybody in the chat room, when you heard Lions Den talking and you maybe heard me saying or something like that, how is the sound right now? I'm a little, lately, there's been some sound issues. If the sound is okay, you can hear me clearly right now. You can hear Lions Den speak clearly. If it's not crackling and popping all kind of weird stuff, let me know, because I need to know what's going on. So if the sound's okay, just say yes. Put a yes in the chat room, or a 1 or something. It's popping. Golly, man. Is it popping when I'm talking, or is it popping when Lions Den is talking? Okay, so you guys can hear me. Everything's clear? Okay. So Earl Owen said that there's some popping. And everybody out there that's listening, I apologize if there's some popping sound. I can't hear it on my part. I can hear a little bit of sound. So Lions Den, what I'm gonna do is when you're talking, I'm gonna mute myself, let you talk, and go vice versa, so that we can limit any type of poor sound quality. I'm gonna do this again. How is the sound so far? I've been talking for a little while. Is the sound okay now? Slight popping, but no problem, brother. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, aka Gil, aka. Thank you, brother. Let me let's continue on. And what's up, BMT? Brother BMT, I should probably send you a link and bring you on with us to get your perspective. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna do that. So, brother BMT, if you are available, I'm sending you a link right now. But while I'm doing that, everybody, this is what I want to get from the chat room right now. How many of you in the chat room feel that living in the South, that the South has changed? There's probably people in the chat room right now that live in Atlanta, live in Tennessee like yourself, live in Texas, that have left the northern states. How many of you in the chat room, tell us where you live at? You ain't got to give details, just what state are you in? Are any of you are in any of these southern states? And if you are in these southern states, tell us what has been your experience, because I'm going to play some sound bites. And so what I've been hearing over the years is that a lot of Black people that have moved to the South, that have brought homes and are living their life, they're giving it rave reviews depending on what part of the South you're living in. So if you're in Atlanta, Georgia, you might have a positive perspective. But once you drive out of these cities like Atlanta, Georgia, now you're going back to the hicks and the sticks again. So let us know where you're at. Memphis. Okay, so Pookie 123. How is it? Oh, he's in Memphis, Tennessee. How is it living in the South these days? Because I personally believe that if you move to the South and you experience what Lions Den experienced, I personally think it's to be expected. Because I don't think it's completely this utopia. And when people talk about it being a utopia now for Black people, they're mainly talking about Atlanta, Georgia, maybe in Charlotte, North Carolina, certain places in the South where there's a big city where you got people coming from all over the country. So let me go ahead and bring this is what I'm gonna do. Let me check through some of these chats. I grew up in the South, Louisiana. It was bad in the 70s and 80s. Wow. Miss Mohawk, where you at? Tell us where you are. Put it in the chat room. I think so. I'm in Virginia. Wow. How are things in Virginia, Queen? I know I am. And I know that my man BMT is in South Carolina. And I'm gonna bring him on because he's the perfect guy to bring on, because he's living in the South. He can give us some perspective on some. And why I'm bringing BMT on, I'm going to play this sound bite for you guys. And when the sound bite is being played, California, okay, I'm in California too. And we got problems in California. California got its problems too. Okay. I'm going to play this sound bite while I send BMT the link. And I want everybody to listen to this sound bite. And is it Peaches and Herbs? You know, remember that was a singing group called Peaches and Herbs or something like Herbs or whatever. But I'm not probably saying it right. But give me your opinion. I'm going to play this sound bite. And as I play this sound bite, let us know if you can hear it, if the sound is clear. Just need to know. Okay, so Earl Owens is from Florida, Tacoma. Okay, and then we got Anita B with her fine self. She's from California. Okay, so we got some good folks in here. Let me see. Oh, we got Sosa. He says, I'm living in Charlotte for 10 years and Texas for 1. I personally like it better than Ohio, where I'm at now. Okay, I get it. But in terms of the racism and the prejudice, did you experience that living in the South, or is it just the same in the South as it is in the North? Because like I said, Malcolm X said that anything south of Canada is the South. So give us your opinion. Let me we're getting some chat room participation right now, Lions Den. The worst racial experience I've ever had was when a white man asked me if I wanted to be his Sally. Oh, I see what that's about. Wow, Queen, I know I am. Okay, we got Kenny. He says, I am from Washington, D.C., but I live in South Carolina for 4 years. What has been your experience in the South, Brother Kenny? And then we got Underrated Darkness, Queen. I know Underrated Darkness is a New Yorker, if I'm not mistaken. Queen, how are you doing? Peace to you, Unheredic Darkness. So let me play this sound bite from a family, and hopefully everybody can hear this sound bite. So here it goes.
Morning, Michelle. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Well, this trend is changing the face of the South and reversing the Great Migration that began 100 years ago.
Can you hear it?
So much of the 20th century was about escaping the South, that there was not a member of this church that did not have people who just come up from the South. Author Isabel Wilkerson has spent a decade researching the Great Migration, a period where 8 million African Americans fled the South from the 1910s through the 1970s. Every aspect of their lives was dictated by a system that we know as Jim Crow. It took the mass departure of this many people that finally sent the signal to the South that things had to change. During the 1940s alone, 1.6 million African Americans headed north or west.
To Chicago, to Detroit, to Cleveland, to Pittsburgh, to all those places that offer great factory and construction jobs and a higher wage and a better life for your family.
My apartment, that's where I was.
Louise Brown was just 15 years old when her parents moved their family from Atlanta to New York in search of better opportunities. He built homes, she worked as a maid.
I've been in New York since 1944.
So when your children came to you and said, "We're moving back, we're going south," you said,
I said, okay, I'm ready.
the last 30 years has brought a reversal of fortunes. The South is luring many families back.
It would be better as far as my family. That's my main focus.
So is it more family oriented?
More family oriented.
Come this fall, all 4 generations of the Browns will relocate to Atlanta, a move that begins a second chapter of this family's uniquely American dream.
We're the country of immigrants. We're the people who get up and go.
Mel Palmer took the leap nearly a decade ago. At first, his father didn't understand.
He didn't want me to come back to Atlanta or Mississippi. And when I moved to Atlanta, it took about 4 years for him to finally come down and visit me. And when he saw the quality of life and what the city had to offer, he was wondering why I didn't even move sooner. The old stigma of the South is no longer exists.
Does it also mean that the South has come a long way?
The South has come a long way, partly because of the sacrifices that these people made in this Great Migration, and forcing the South ultimately to re-examine itself.
I think the big part of this movement is the new young generation of African Americans.
The market is more reasonable than in New York.
A generation that brings with it a very powerful political force.
The political professionals are absolutely paying attention to these new Black migration patterns, especially ones who have been counting on Blacks for Democratic votes, which they typically can. Yes. We saw a little bit of a change in the last election in Florida and in North Carolina and Virginia. And Hispanics and African Americans had a lot to do with turning those states from Republican to Democratic voting states.
The reverse migration has also ushered in a new era of tolerance. The 2010 census shows that the South is becoming more welcoming to people of all backgrounds, especially Latino Americans.
The idea of a white category is going to be meaningless. Basically, it'll be some like interracial marriage.
Let me correct something that he said in there. He talked about it's American tradition for immigrants to Black people are not immigrants. Okay. We're the only people in this society who did not come over here of our own free will. We didn't come over here from another country because we were running away from a war-torn country. We didn't come over here with our bags and our backpacks and our shoes on our feet, hats on our head. We didn't come over here looking for work as other groups do. We didn't come over here for economic opportunity because we were ripped out of the continent. And I know there are people out there that say that we are from North America, that we are the original people here. And I've already told you that we are the original people of the whole planet. Black people come from all over the world. So it does not really, in my estimate, matter to make arguments about whether we come from North America or Africa or whatever, when you can go anywhere in the world. Anthropology has proven that black bones are everywhere in the world, in the society, in this world that we live in, the diaspora of the world, which is why when you look at history, you will find dark skin people that are dark in skin tone, because Africans or black people were there. With that said, what are your thoughts about the audio that I played, Lions? And go ahead and speak onto that and anything else you want to add as I wait for BMT to come on.
I listened to it, and most time when people move from the north to the south, I think the majority of the reason why they move down here in the south is because of gentrification in the East Coast. Now, remember, Washington D.C. is the #1 when it comes to gentrification in the country. So when you have people who couldn't afford moving to the D.C. area or up north like Jersey or New York, they couldn't afford it, so they moved back to where it's like who can afford less housing or stuff like that, like North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, places like that. So, and I think that what's happening is that the more people move down to the South, I think parts of it, I'm not saying all, but parts of it, they had experienced racism in some of the places. So the thing of it is that yes, Northerners like myself, who just I've been here in Tennessee for a year, and I'm adjusting to places in Tennessee like Antioch, Nashville area. So the brother who's from Memphis, in Nashville, where I am, it's like 3 hours away from Memphis. So it's like from driving distance, like 3 hours away. But my point is that once people who couldn't afford living in the East Coast or living up north anymore, they relocated in the South where it's comfortable, where the rents are cheaper and everything else. But at the end of the day, you was asking me that you think that does the South changes? The South changed, but not as much, in my opinion. I think that the South maybe is like even far, depending on who's racist and who's not, because here in Tennessee, we got so many different cultures. We got like Hispanics here, we got Arabs here. Everybody's here around where I am right now. But as far as racism is concerned, there's still some people out there that believes in Trump's America that is going to be racist towards people of different faith or different color.
America great again. We will make America great again.
Definitely. Let me go ahead and say what's up to the real Brooklyn's in the house. Cugent 87 is in the house, and we got the real Brooklyn. We got Art New Style in the house. Check his channel out. Check everybody out that's in here. Check out my man Cugent 87. We got Dallas Slade in the house, and I believe Frazier, brother Frazier, said that he's from if I'm saying his name correct, George Frazier said that he's from he says salute to Underrated Darkness, but he's from Georgia. So we got a lot of people in here who have opinions. And BMT, if you're out there, I sent you the link, brother. So come on through, brother. Come on through. But we got we got a lot of folks here that's from the South. We got people from Dallas. Let me see. Cugent is saying much love. Likewise, media. The guy from Texas, Houston, is racist as hell. He says many areas you can't buy a house. Yeah, these are realities. So that's why I wanted to bring this issue up about, is this reverse migration of black people leaving the North? Is it really what it's cracked up to be? We do know the price of living is cheaper. So they got the North and they got the West beat with that. But what you experience, like I said in this article, is some of the psychological lag of people, particularly white people that live in the South, who feel that they should have never won. They should have never lost the Civil War. You got people still living in the past of the Civil War that they've never gotten over. And they feel a little bit of a psychological anger towards people of our skin tone. And then you're gonna have people that are ridiculous, they're angry, they're not happy with themselves, so they project the racism onto us. And when you look at things like watermelon, this comes from a long historical history of caricatures and stereotypes in American society. And I got an article. I'm going to get into that, where that comes from, how that has stigmatized us. We got the guy from Texas here saying, I don't sense a whole lot of racial tension in Houston. I pick up on it from time to time, but overall, not really. Okay. Now, is it because Houston, what's the racial makeup in Houston? Is it mostly black? I know you have a large Latino or Mexican population in Texas overall. What's the makeup? Is some of these cities in Texas, like Dallas and Houston, becoming more mixed racially? Or I don't like to use that word diverse, because diverse to me says that everybody's coming together in harmony, and that's further from the truth. We're really a salad bowl. We're not a melting pot in this society. We're a salad bowl, just a bunch of people of different backgrounds and races mixed around in a salad bowl, but no one really understands each other. This is my opinion about that. But let us know, brother, guy from Texas, what the racial makeup is that could be impacting what you're experiencing. The South racism is different from the North. The North hides it. I prefer the South. I like to know my enemy. Okay, this is why I got to give him a clap on that. I like what he said. And this is why I like what he said, because I've been saying that for a long time. Living in California, we get a false sense of it all, folks, because in California, we're so diverse and mixed up, as they say. But in California, and I see you, brother BMT, I'm going to bring you on just in a moment. Hang on. In California, we're lulled to sleep out here because we've been taught and given this doctrine of we're diverse. I lived in San Francisco, Oakland, and we always talk all this diversity in the Bay Area, and people love each other, and people go to school with each other, and all of that. It's all a fallacy. In California, people smile in your face. They act like they like you, but what they are is they're a silent racist, meaning they play like they like you, but deep down inside, they don't like you. And you can see that in their policies, see that in the institutionalized racism that goes on in California. Believe it or not, it happens in California. Okay. And the thing about back east and in the South, people that are racist will tell you that they don't like you. I don't like your kind. I don't want you here. Don't come in my neighborhood. Don't come in my store. I believe I'd rather take that type of racism rather than the passive people that like that the people that act like they like me. And Jason Black, I got a soundbite from him. He had a show over this weekend, and he got into this stuff about how we as Black people, we're almost living in a prison, and there's prison politics. And we have to understand that what you experience, Lions Den, is part of the deal of being in this prison system, being in this prison politics, in that would you rather have people who are racist towards Black people come out and show you that they're racist rather than hide their racism and make it institutionalized and hide it from you? I want to know where my enemy stands. And I think that if you know that someone's an enemy of yours, I think you stand on stronger ground with someone like that who comes out and says that they don't like you, that they're willing to be honest with their racism and their prejudice. What do you think about that, Lions Den, as I bring answer that question or that thought as I bring brother BMT into the show and also look at other people's commentary? Go right ahead.
I agree with you, and I agree with the brother that said that, because at least here in the South, they already know that I'm racist. By living in the DMV, when you have people that have shirt and ties, white shirt and ties, that's gonna like you. They, hey, how you doing? But turn their back and like, I don't like you. I mean, he's an N-word. You say that behind your back. That's basically that's just why I say here in the South is more respectful. They'll tell you like it is, and that's why I respect a person that say, "Oh yeah, I don't like you. I don't want you to be around me." Then living in the East Coast, when you pretend to like a person and then turn around, really don't like a person because of the color of their skin. That's to me,
Right.
it's a slick stuff to me. I don't like that.
Okay. We got my man BMT in the house. Brother Disengage. How you doing, by the way, brother? It's been a minute since we've talked.
I know, man. It's been a good while, man, since we sat down and actually chopped it up. What's going on, Lions Den? How you doing, man? Good to hear from you, bro.
What's good, BMT? How you been today, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. You know what I'm saying? I just had a talk. I just had a talk with a few people. And I'm gonna be doing I'm gonna do like a little quick, probably 20-minute documentary of my town.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's in a stalemate where the whites live with the whites and the blacks live with the blacks. Nobody mixes like that. So I could I could show y'all full. It's literally redlining is real. It never stopped. It just happens in different areas. It's totally legal. It's legal where I live at. So I'm definitely gonna do that talk with y'all guys.
Well, let me ask you this question. And I'm glad you're on here because you live in South Carolina. Am I correct or wrong?
Correct. South Carolina. I think that's what me and you had that talk about the school that was getting shut down.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to play this sound bite because I got some stuff I want to put on the screen, let people see how Black folks have actually been, exodusing out of the North to the South in large numbers. In your time living there, I imagine you're native there, of course. Do you think that when Black people from the North come to the South and they hear that the South has changed or certain Southern states have changed where Black people have migrated to, do you find that Black people who come from the North, who've never lived in the South before, or maybe have family down there, that they have a false sense of the improvement of the South? Or it's a two-part question. And then the second part is, do you prefer to know who your racist is versus living in the North or the West where I'm at, where racism can be very shrouded in people giving you these grins and smiles? Go ahead. I know it's a two-part question, but you can answer the first part of that.
Okay. So first off, as far as it goes for Northern people, I believe the first part, coming down here with the naivety. We see a lot of that because they're looking at the income base and they come down to our areas and it's a different texture of language.
Right.
To have an older white person walk up to a Black man and say, "How you doing, boy?" or "What's going on?" Stuff like that. Like some of them like, "Oh, okay, boy." Like, wait, what was he saying? I said that means he does not see you as an equal if he called you boy. So it's up to you to check that right then and there. I do that all the time. So I don't like the sheriff's son. He's a lieutenant. He knows my stance. So I told him, "Don't you ever call me damn boy again." Mm-hmm. And I don't give a shit. You got your gun, I got my gun. So we can square off in the field. He's like, "Oh no, Johnson, quit playing like that." But I said, "Then why are you trying to call me boy? You trying to emasculate me in front of your friend?" I said, "Don't play no games. Let's not get slick out here." Right. And so if they know we can tell who's a foreigner to the land and not. And different language will simplify that. The old South, they have no problem saying the South will rise again. That mentality never died. I mean, you saw it in North Carolina, and in South Carolina, it's still is openly equated. Now the Northern, because when we see mixed people, and yes, there are mixed people in the South, they don't get. I wouldn't say they get the eye of being called mixed blood or half breeds. That's what they get called a lot. So that ain't never disappeared. You know what I'm saying? We just it's very interesting because some Black people will try hard to be taken into white communities. A white community in the South is called, guess what? A plantation.
Okay.
That's what it's called, a plantation. I never in my day will ever live on a goddamn plantation. I make good money, but I will never live on a goddamn plantation. Okay. But that is what they're openly called. School segregation is real. For black kids to go to a white school, you can get it signed off by the school district for your children to be allowed there. Now, that's very different now that is a very interesting because that's not against the law for education, for certain education parameters. And we went over this. It's not allowed in certain black schools. But see, that's a problem because then they'll always pull out that why are the black schools failing? But if you're keeping certain education curriculums out of the black schools, right, then guess what? Of course they're going to be behind. But, we'll always get told, well, the South is slow. But that's when you're crippling the education system, you're trying to set up the future generations for failure. Now, as far as it goes, I'm fine with knowing who's racist or not. That to me don't faze me as a lot of Black America would like to. That is why because I understand it at its core. I was there when my daddy's church got shot up by that boy Dylan Roof. Right. I got to watch real time as that man Walter Scott got gunned down, all in South Carolina. We also saw where that white cop, you know what I'm saying, he ran up to the man in the truck, that's Glad Boy's nephew, and shot him up. And he pulled out a goddamn wallet. And that's what you're supposed to. But see, now y'all gotta understand that right there shows you that you can't take these people for granted. I'd rather have the ones who are open and tell you straight to your face, I don't like you. I don't like your kind. I'm just dealing with you just for the money. Nothing else. It's not personal. It's just business. So when you understand that and you're at that mind state, it's like it's not personal. That's why when people say race, get over it, I'm like, well, shit, come down to the South. They will tell you that we ain't never getting over it. This is what it is. Until one of us is dead off, that's just how it is. You can mix and breed as much as you want with them. They will not accept you in their tribe, their community, their villa, whatever. They will blackball you out of jobs and stuff. It's pretty crucial. And so I'll let you take from there.
Let me I got the crows coming by. It's my crows coming by right now, everybody. Hey, look, let me say something to my man Carl's opinion. He asked me a question. I got it on the board here about giving examples of institutionalized racism. Well, first step is educational system. The educational system in California is not very good to Black students. You're looking at one that experienced it as a child. This happens across the board. They are quick to label Black male children as hyperactive, and then when they label that, they put us in special ed educational classes. They put us in the bad kids classes, and they label us. And I had this happen to me by many teachers of the Caucasian perspective. And what they do is they put you in these classes and they track you. They put you in this tracking system to keep you from, in some ways, success in an institutional level. When it comes to Black males in particular, there is low expectation for our educational acceleration through the system. Okay, so that's an example of it. Not to mention on jobs. Okay, see, California is one of those places where, because we talk all this diversity stuff. I lived in San Francisco for 30 years, Carl's opinion. I lived in Oakland too. We talk all this diversity stuff in San Francisco, right? Yet just as much violence happens in San Francisco as happens in Oakland, but Oakland is labeled a dangerous city. I lived there for 10 years. Nobody never touched a finger on me. Okay. And there's white people that live in Oakland who haven't been touched. San Francisco has places I could take you, Carl, that you wouldn't want to be at in the daytime. There's places like Devil Rock in San Francisco where police don't even like to drive through that area. It's been dangerous. Now it's probably changed now, but I remember it being a very dangerous place. That's in San Francisco. Okay. So when it comes to jobs, applying for jobs, there are institutional racism that is set up to steer us away from certain things academically and certain job opportunities that we sometimes don't get. For example, most Black people, or Black males in particular, when we get hired on jobs, and they've done studies about this, get paid less money than their white counterpart, even if you got more education than them. I've seen this. Why? Because they tried to do this shit to me, right? Bring somebody in, have me training them, and then they're going to try to take my job. Because the good old boy networks always takes care itself, right? And that's a system. Those are examples I've experienced living in California, and not to mention tons of examples I can give you that happened to my mother and various friends living in the city by the bay, living in California. There are institutional racism is just as American as mom's apple pie. Nobody can tell me that different because I've experienced it growing up. I've seen older people experience it, just like this American flag I have in the back, Carl. It's as American as the flag behind me, and this is American as your favorite guy who always likes to say he's gonna make America great again.
We will make America great again.
See, racism goes together with America like the sandwich, the meat to the damn sandwich. And there's so many other examples. Let's not even get into business loans and the predatory things that have happened to Black people in California by institutions in California when it comes to housing. I was a victim of that when I was first purchasing a home. So, Carl, I'm the wrong dude to ask that kind of question of. But peace to you, Carl. And I got to give you the thanks for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
Carl's a big supporter of my show. And good question. Good question. Let me just do this before we move forward in the program, because I got some things I want to put on the screen. Let me play this last soundbite. I want everybody in the chat room to listen to it. I want to get your opinion. Lions Den, I'm coming to you to speak and get your opinion on this. So mute up a little bit, gentlemen, while I play this soundbite. And then I'm going to follow that soundbite up by Jason Black. But here's one that I think is the important one, and I'm going to put some stuff on the screen as well to talk about. Check this out.
A phenomenon that started back in the early 1900s. It continued through the 1970s. It was known as the Great Migration. Blacks moved in huge numbers from the South to large northern cities where great paying industrial jobs meant a life of home ownership, even sending your kids to college. Well, those factory jobs are gone, gentrification is in, and Black Americans are moving back down south. This has had enormous political and cultural implications. Joining me now to discuss the impact and the outcome of the midterm elections, Roland Martin, host and managing editor of the Roland Martin Unfiltered Show. Roland, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here.
We saw in Alabama, I think, that the election to...
Just so y'all know, I'm not a big fan of Roland Martin, but this clip I thought was a good clip because it explains further about the reverse migration of Black people. And I'm going to put up some charts on the screen for you guys to see. I'm going to move forward. Just had to give that disclaimer. I'm not a big fan of one buck dancing Roland Martin. Here we go.
Jeff Sessions' seat where Black women showed up in droves and sort of made history, if you will. We just saw the elections in Georgia and Florida, and we're seeing the South overall change. And I think one of those dynamics are a lot of northern Blacks who have returned to the South. What are your thoughts on this? Because it's cultural, it's economic, and it's political.
Well, I think if folks first of all study the fact that it was Robert Abbott who founded the Chicago Defender, who used the paper to tell Blacks to come north. Many Blacks were fleeing the South because of violent racism and for greater economic opportunity, not wanting to be on plantations. The problem is when they went up north, what they found was compacted housing, redlining. You still had segregation that was there. It simply wasn't the same as the South. As a result of manufacturing, to your point earlier, manufacturing leaving, but also cost of living in many of these places. If you're living in Chicago, you're living in Washington, D.C., you're living in a lot of these places, I mean, it has become very expensive to live. And so as a result, people are moving back. I remember, and this is not just folks, you know, who are middle class. A number of years ago, I was talking to Bradford Marsalis, and he lived in Westchester County in New York, and he moved to North Carolina. So you're actually seeing that, because the cost of living is also a particular issue. So if you have finite dollars, you can actually stretch your dollars more living in the South as compared to living in a lot of Midwestern places or in the Northeast.
Now, here's the thing, Roland, that I don't get. And in New York City, for instance, there's a tremendous amount of opportunities, particularly if you've got the right kind of background, if you've got the right kind of pedigree. But this whole movement, the gentrification movement that's pushing people out, it's hard if you don't. And if you're born in this city and you don't, you have to leave it. So when folks leave these northern cities and go to the South, why do they vote in the same people who are going to enact the same policies, high taxes, high regulations, that don't afford the sort of economic mobility that people want?
Because it's actually not tied to that issue. Just like you might have folks who are living in the South in rural areas right now who still might vote Republican, but they're saying, oh my God, what am I going to do with my health care? My rural hospital is shutting down. People vote for a variety of different interests that go beyond just that. And so it's not just easily, well, why do you vote Democrat? Why do you vote Republican? There are numerous reasons why people do that. Also, frankly, how they grew up, how they were raised, what is also in their particular families. You talk about gentrification. One of the issues that you have there is that what happens is in many of these areas where you have poor blacks, poor whites, poor Latinos, guess what? That's available land that's cheaper. And so what then happens is developers then come in, buy that land, redevelop it, and then when other folks can't live other places because it's too expensive, they begin to build those places up. That's what you saw actually in Harlem. And so the cost of a brownstone there today is totally different than it was 10 years ago. Now, when you talk about on the political side, I also check this out. I was talking with a woman who I know who moved from California to Atlanta, and she talked about how voting in Atlanta was totally different than it was in California, because she said, man, I was used to a certain way of voting with different machines, and I come here, it's totally different. And that's what you're also experiencing, African Americans who are moving from northern or Midwestern places or Western places back down south, and they're still encountering some of these issues of voter suppression and things along those lines. Right. But this is where I keep saying, though, where if Republicans actually would talk to black people and stop being scared of black people and truly present a broad-based agenda, they might have the ability to pick up votes. But as long as you are putting forth policies, and especially when it comes to voting, that black folks don't appreciate, ain't gonna happen.
Let me ask you.
Information is power. Now, let's get back to the Information Man show.
Okay, everybody, let me say a few things. Let me disengage from this right here. Let me say a few things to folks. We got my man BMT and Lions Den on right now. Let me say a few things. Carl was saying, how do you change that? The way you change that is that black people have to start educating their own kids. Whether it's homeschooling or creating our own schools, or if we can't do that, we have to have black men, parents that are involved in their child's life when they're in school. One of the things when I was in high school, my family was on top of everything with me. So for example, I played classical violin since I was about 10 years old. Okay. My mom plays, I got an uncle plays 13 instruments, self-taught, very musical family. And they tried to keep me out of classes that I was supposed to be in. I saw somebody in the chat room. I've looked through all your chats. I put them on the screen. You guys are saying powerful things in the chat room right now. They will try to keep you out of classes that you're supposed to be in and put you in remedial type classes. I had that happen to me. The reason why they weren't able to railroad me completely is because I had parents and family members that said, no, you won't do that to our son. No, you won't do this. Hell, they even tried to send me home back in the day for breakdancing. Did you hear me again? For breakdancing on my lunch break with other kids. And they sent me home. My mother, when they sent me home, my mother brought me and my family members brought me back to the school, demanded to talk to the principal and vice principal and said, look, is my son cutting up? Is he doing this in class? Is he not getting his lessons done? They said, no, that ain't the case. So you're going to suspend him for dancing on his lunch break? And they looked at him and they said, don't you ever send our child home for some damn dancing on his lunch break unless he's cutting up. Because at that time we used to dance and have breakdance battles where with what? We weren't fighting each other. That told me as a young child, that's the institutionalized racism in my opinion, that they don't want us doing productive things with each other. They want us to fight each other. So we were doing something where we weren't fighting against each other and they were trying to squash that. They were quick to catch us when we were breakdancing, but there was nobody around when we were fighting each other. Now I experienced that in school. Okay, so I just wanted to bring up that experience from my personal experience that they do that to us. They try to keep us out of classes that we were supposed to take. I was into computers and stuff. They tried to keep me from that. These things happen. Then they ended up sending me to some computer program that was off campus, not allowing me to. Man, don't let me start. I went to Washington High School in San Francisco. I can't stand that school. I'll never go there for no reunion. I'll never give them a dime of my money. Okay, I enjoyed college more than I did high school, but that's just my soapbox right now. Okay, Lions Den, you got anything you want to say? I'm going to put some charts on the board. You heard that audio that was played with her? And say some things, brother. I'm going to put some charts up after you finish, and I'm going to get back to BMT as well. You got anything you want to add, brother?
Well, Roland Martin was correct with what I said earlier about, gentrification. And like I said, DC is the #1 in the country when it comes to gentrification. And what billionaires is doing is try to buy properties from the Black community who now couldn't afford, paying where they are. So now what they're doing is all the Blacks who used to live in the DC area or above there, like Philly, New York, New Jersey, they decided to move down the South because it's cheaper and more comfortable, more reliable for where they are. And so the point I was making is that, it's like the billionaires who bought our property, they know we couldn't afford it. But then we moved down to the South, and then I think that basically we try to embrace where we are, our environment for where we are in the South. Because if you live in Georgia, if you live in Kentucky, you live in Tennessee, places like that, that's where all the Blacks from the North is enjoying, trying to live a comfortable life in the South. But again, even if that were true, it's going to be some places going to be a little bit challenging because they're saying they still got some Southern racism on parts that you don't want to go to. So yeah, that's just the way it is.
Right. Let me this is what I'm going to do, folks, and I'm going to get to Brother BMT very soon. Brother BMT will be back. We'll be on speaking in a moment. I want to show you guys something. What's up to Exo Espresso? What's up, brother? Y'all see you doing your trucking thing on your channel. This guy is he's pretty good content creator, and he talks about the algorithm, how you can manipulate YouTube in your best interest. He talks about it. He's thanks for the super chat as well. I appreciate that, and you coming through to support what a brother's doing here. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the super chat.
But let me go right ahead and show everybody something. Let me show you the numbers that display the cities that Black people are dispersing from. This is from, let me just put this on the screen right now. And let me take something off here. Boom. So the new great migration of Black people from the North to the South. Now, these numbers were the top losses in Metro from 2005 to 2010, and you can imagine it's even going down. These are the numbers that they put out to show when it really started. Now, really, as you heard in the video, it was from 1910 into the 1970s where you had this mass migration of Black people moving from the South to the North, like Detroit and various northern states like Ohio. That's why you got a lot of Black folks who came out of Ohio, all that great music like the Ohio Players. Detroit, Michigan, because of the jobs and the industrialization of America at that time. And there was plenty of jobs. It was a time when a black man could work in a factory, buy a home, and send his kids to school. And those days are long gone. And when you ask yourself, well, what's wrong with Detroit? What's wrong with places like in Ohio, Akron, Ohio, places where black people live at, that there's a lot of poor social economics going on, downtrodden stuff going on. People are hurting economically. When you don't have any jobs and you don't have education, you're going to have an increase in violence. You're going to have an increase in a variety of destructive things. And that is why Detroit, amongst many other reasons in particular, is where it is today, when all those jobs and factories closed, the car industry, and that hurt a lot of people. There was opportunity, and that opportunity was taken away at some point in time. And Detroit has never returned to its glory days. Now here you got here, New York. Look at the numbers. Okay, Chicago, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Detroit. These are cities that have had a major drop in those numbers between those years. Now you can imagine that the numbers, this is what they had on the American Community Survey. You can imagine that these numbers are a hell of a lot higher now because black people are still leaving. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I live in California. I'm thinking about leaving California when I retire from when I retire, because I can make my pension stretch a lot more living out of California because it's so damn expensive living in California. Now, let me bring up another. Let me show you the increase, the southern states that have gotten an increase of black folks coming out of the north to the south during the same period of time. And here we go. See, top growth, Metro 2005, 2010, Atlanta. We all know about Atlanta, Dallas, Houston. There's some folks in there talking about they live in Houston. Some people live in Atlanta, Dallas. Then we got Miami, DC, chocolate city, even though it ain't too chocolate anymore because you got gentrification going on. But these are the increases, and I'm sure the particularly places like Houston and Dallas are finding an increase. DC is changing right now, I think, because of what you call gentrification. Black people, I think, are starting to move out of DC, but these are places that have seen an increase in migration. These southern states. Washington, D.C., for whatever reason, is probably the only northern state that was seeing a lot of increase at that time. But that's the numbers from that period of time. And you know that it's increased. Now, this is what they were saying on when Roland Martin was on that show with the guy from Fox. Let me put this up on the screen, too. Okay. During the election with Doug Jones in 2018, the midterms, Doug Jones got elected in Alabama, right? They said that black women really turned the tide. Well, black men were voting too, right? They were saying that because of an influx of reverse migration from the north to the south, some of the southern states that are usually traditionally been red states are starting to turn purple or a little bit blue. The black people that have traditionally voted Democratic. And I don't want to look, this is my bottom line. I think that I think black people personally, we got to stop voting just Democratic for this reason, because the Democrats take our vote for granted and they give us no tangibles. I'm saying it again, they have given us no tangibles. Okay. But we vote at high numbers. What had happened in the midterm during this year, the vote for Democrat in the House of Representative race, P Research Center came up with these numbers, and you're seeing an influx of black people moving to the south with those Democratic ways that are voting for Democratic candidates. That is sort of shifting some of the voting in some of these traditional red states. That was my point in bringing this up on the screen. So let me disengage from that, go over to Brother BMT, get his thoughts on what he either heard, what I put on the screen, what he knows more than I know. Give it to us, brother. Brother BMT, are you there? He must have stepped away. Or let me see. Let me unmute him. Brother BMT, are you there? Okay. He must have stepped away, folks. But let's check on the chat room. Lions Den, unengage yourself. Unmute yourself, brother. What do you think about screen, the numbers I'm talking about? What are your thoughts?
Well, info. Some of the stuff that you said about it is so true that it's from northern states on the highest percentage of it's really basically it's really sad that a lot of African Americans who used to own a property that couldn't afford owning a property anymore. And the thing of it is that you got a lot of billionaires that again brought up a lot of black property from major cities like Detroit, like St.
Thank
Louis,
you for the super
like
chat.
New York, like Philly, DC, and then all of a sudden, all the neighborhoods that we couldn't afford it, they could bought out, and make it try to create their own neighborhoods. It happened in DC, and when I've been living in DC almost like 24 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. I mean, a lot of changes. Info. Parts of DC, like Rhode Island Avenue or Georgia Avenue, where the Howard University is, it's not what it used to be. You see now that you see a lot of like suburban stuff. It's now DC becoming suburban stuff. It become like used to be Chocolate City, just like you said. It became White Chocolate City now. And you see so much different. You see Starbucks. When you see like Starbucks, you already knew right there and there. Yeah, there's a lot of changes going on in the neighborhood. So it's not a surprise that you're showing us the chart there, because like again now it's higher because they decided to raise the rent in some places that black people couldn't afford anymore. And so it's just sometimes it's just the way it is.
Well, let me read some of the things that people are saying. We got a guy here named Knowledge Seeker. He says, "Melanated people, do your research before moving to Miami, brother. If you haven't already, explain a little bit more why we got to do our research before moving to Miami." Now, I've always said this, and you've heard me say this before, Lions Den, that the Miami or Florida ain't nothing but the South with beaches and palm trees.
Right.
People go to Florida and they tend to think that it's not the South because you got all that tropical weather, the palm trees, the beach. So it almost plays itself like it's another place on the planet. But it ain't nothing but the South with sand beaches and palm trees. But it's still the South when you get outside of Miami, all the popular areas that people like to go to. And let me tell you something else. And I've said this before, Lions Den. Let me just say this while we got everybody on here. And what's going on, Great Black Shark? Let me just say something real quick. A lot of times I think that brother said something that was very important. You got to do your research when you move to these places. But this is one of the things I've always noticed. When I've ran into brothers and sisters that go to Atlanta, Georgia, and they say, "Man, Atlanta is off the hook. It's got it going on, man. I had a good time there. It's off the hook in the South." And oftentimes when people have rave reviews about Atlanta, Georgia, or going to some place in the South, 9 out of 10 times they went there for a party. Do you hear me, everybody? They went there for a party. What's that? Freaknik, some college type thing, some fraternity and sorority type thing like the Freaknik that they used to always have down there, some kind of event. Or when people go to New Orleans for the Essence Festival and all that kind of stuff. When you go to these places that have traditionally have racism and Jim Crow, and you go there for a party, you get a false sense of what that place is really like if you have not lived there for 365 days of the year. Talk to people that actually live there that ain't partying. Because if you go there for just a party, then you walk away with a false sense of what that place is really about. And I've had friends that have gone down there and for stay some while, and they said, "Oh, it ain't for me." Or some people say, "Oh, it is for me." So when you go to these places, don't go there just because you're going there to party. Anywhere you move to, you should do reconnaissance. You should do some research. Go there. Talk to people who actually have been living there. Get their point of view of the daily ins and out of living in these particular cities. Also, if you're from California like I am currently, you got to consider weather. Living in California, I'm telling you, we're spoiled. I like the warm weather. I like just having rain in Northern California where I live at. I don't want to deal with snow and tornadoes and all that kind of stuff. So you got to consider that. If you move to one of these southern states, you may have to deal with the power of God, which is that thunder. Okay, that thunder. Okay. You may have to deal with some of that stuff, tornadoes and all that. You got to do your research on the environment that you're moving in, not just go there because you had a good time. Okay, that's my soapbox to everybody out there. That was my soapbox. I had to get on that soapbox real quick. Now BMT. Let me go to BMT. BMT, are you there? Are you there, brother? Disengage yourself, unmute yourself, and speak, brother. I hope that you're still there. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to keep moving forward and get some interaction with people in the chat room right now. So we got the great Black Shark. He said, when you ask them, show me the black leadership that is respected in either party, you get crickets. Neither one promotes that and will not if you are ADOS. Good points. Very good points. Let's see what we got here. Brother Duvian, good move. Okay. Let's see. Let's get some other points here. Okay, we got DNA tests are fake. Never trust your enemy to tell you who you are. Yeah, I mean, the DNA tests are big money. It's big business right now. So you really don't know if the DNA test that you're getting is completely legitimate. I miss California weather now living in Houston. Okay, that's Justice Winfrey. Okay, let's see what love it here in California where I'm here. Okay, well, likewise, I heard you say earlier that California is a very big place. When I talk about some of the institutionalized racism or some of the things that Black people deal with in California, I'm talking about urban environments. Okay, Oakland, Los Angeles, California, San Francisco, big urban settings. I'm not talking about somewhere in the wilderness. So I'm talking about where Black people primarily live and some of the things that we do deal with. Even within California being this quote unquote liberal state, which I'm gonna tell you, there are some, once you drive outside of major cities in California and you get into the more rural areas of California, it ain't as liberal as you think. Go up north, where you're going up north, close to like the close to the Oregon border, okay? And some of them towns going up high north, you're gonna think you in the South somewhere, okay? I've been to some of these places. I've driven through some, unfortunately, and there's some places that I would still refuse to drive to. And that's another shame of it, Lions Den, that people don't understand. When you are a Black person in America, you don't necessarily feel as safe as other people driving through some of these rural southern areas. I remember a couple of years ago, they were warning Black people in particular not to drive through Louisiana and don't drive through Florida and some of those state roads where you got those troopers that would stop you because they thought that every Black person was a drug dealer because of some of the drug issues that was coming from, according to them, from the Caribbean islands, right? So they would assume that, oh, you're bringing drugs in, right? Or Louisiana, some of those state troopers are not too nice. Wow. So what are your thoughts, Lions Den?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I think that the problem is that we are living in a society that, once we move to another state thinking that the states are better and not do enough research, then, it's not what it claimed to be. It once you do enough research. So realistically, you was referring to was Florida. And I think that a lot of people thinking, like you said, that there's palm trees and everything else, and Florida's nice. But the reality is that, Florida, especially some parts of Florida, still got racial overtones in that state. So, and remember, a lot of people forget about what happened with Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, which is happened in Sanford, Florida, which is a suburban part of Orlando. You know what happened there. Then what happened, and then also you happen to in another incident, which I did a story on in some outside of Tampa, which is Clearwater, when you have a stand your ground law there. When I think I forgot his name, but yeah, that area, parts of Florida, you do not want to go to because again, it's seen there's still racism in this country, in the state of Florida. But at the end of the day, just like end of the day info, we do have to do our research to find out which is the right place to move. If you do decide to move somewhere, you always have to do your research on where do you want to move to, because that's also important.
Yeah. Al Espresso, if I'm saying the brother's his name right, he said that Atlanta is a fun place, but there's certain places you don't want to be. And I think every place has that. We got detailed says Atlanta has the HIV rate of a third world country, capital of sexual. It does have some problems there, and unfortunately, black people are on the other end of that, getting that. Okay, Justice Winfrey said, "I'm from California. I live in Inglewood. Let me see, Oxnard. Oh, I'm familiar with that in San Bernardino. You got a lot of criminals in San Bernardino. I get a lot of guys where I work at that come in from San Bernardino. You got a lot of stuff going on down there. But I even lived in San Jose and Tahoe, Sierra. Okay, I'm very familiar with San Jose. It's particularly San Jose University. I had a lot of friends that went to school there. I used to go down there every now and then when I was in college. Very familiar in Tahoe. Very familiar with Tahoe. Let's go ahead and read some more of these things in the chat room. Okay, let me see. Brother Duvian Facts. Let me see here. BMT, are you back, brother? Okay, I don't know what he must have had something that happened for him to be gone this long and not say anything. But we're gonna keep the program going. BMT, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I don't know what
brother.
happened, but I was like, man, I was determined to get back.
Okay, I can see. Yeah, the way they have the StreamYard set up is that it allows you to still get back in. And I had been calling for you. I was like, what happened? Who snatched him up? Who?
No, we learning this new system, but we're gonna get it together before the end of this year. We're
Yeah.
gonna learn the new system.
But check this out. I played a clip. I put up some stuff on the screen, some numbers showing how black people are leaving the north to the south. You know the details. What are your thoughts, brother, so far in terms of what are you seeing in South Carolina where you are? Are you seeing an increase? Oh, South Carolina's always had a large black base, but are you seeing any increase of people that are transplants?
Yeah, I see it. Some people just don't know how to deal with it, especially people who are not from here.
Okay.
It's just one of those things that when we see other people come and try to tell us, well, it's gone or it's died off or it's gone away, I'm just like, you just ain't pushed one of their buttons for them. I pray that nobody has to run into them at nighttime when they're a cop, because there's a lot of them who are cops who they turn, or they're people who are ex-Klansmen. So when a lot of people come from the north, I always tell them that, listen, they have ways of hurting you.
Okay.
And they have ways of hurting you, and it's not always a frontal punch. It's going to be something like your job or your business. Like I remember they did it to me, my mama's business. They shut down our store, our mortar store, and made us pay $1,600, all because we bought the property that one of them just couldn't buy. But kind of find out that they were purposely using the police to their own benefit. But we okay now, so it's stuff down here, man. They got ways to hurt you really badly.
So what would be your advice with this whole reverse migration of black people going to the south, wanting a change from the north? Your advice would be, I've been saying, I don't know if you heard me earlier, I was saying that you got to do your research. A lot of times people go to these southern states, particularly Atlanta, and when you run into someone who's gone to Atlanta and they're talking about how Atlanta is off the hook, they normally take a liking to it because they went there for a party versus just going there and checking out the lay of the land. And I think that's a poor way to make a judgment on a place that you want to move to because you went there for a party.
Right. And see, that's the thing about it. They don't talk about info that a lot of the black communities, if people are paying attention, you can look it up. But I used to live in College Park, Georgia. That's in the heart of Atlanta. The black communities, or the black lower income communities, are being torn down and sold off because just like y'all said, y'all one of those billionaires to fix your area. Yeah, they're gonna fix it by pushing you and your people out of those areas. And they push you out of those areas. When people talk about, oh, I'm going to Atlanta to get a restart, I'm like, well, which part are you talking about? Because depending on if the parts where the blacks are heavily concentrated, they're heavily watched by police.
Wow.
You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that, and you can literally look it up. I could probably go get my friend to take a picture. The police department is set up in front of the black community, so they openly they make sure that you don't step out of line. You're not going to see no cops like that in the white community. They don't go in there like that. That's not for them to do that.
Okay, BMT. I'm going to get back to this. What I want to do. I want to play a soundbite from Jason Black because he did a show where he talked about we have to deal and not be afraid of dealing with people with where they were. There was a woman who made some statements about she didn't want her daughters with black men and all that kind of stuff. And his point was that he would rather deal with people that are an honest racist versus someone who's just acting like they're your friend. And I kind of agree with that. And he also compared it to, as I said before, a prison politics, that if we're in this prison called America to a certain degree, and we're on that prison yard and there's politics, then you have to be able to navigate and understand those politics. Once again, Carl's opinion, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. You supporting the show.
Thank you for the super chat.
With that said, let me go ahead and get ready to play that soundbite. And I hope it's something that you will. And then when I play the soundbite, I'm going to come right back to you, BMT, and get your opinion on it.
Tell the truth.
No debating, no asking questions. This is the rule. And I want to ask you a question as Black people. Are you prepared to be honest enough with yourself to accept and to acknowledge that you are living under prison politics? And that instead of trying to deny that you are in the prison and attempting to deny that you are living under prison politics and the rules of prison politics, that you just accept it for what it is. That this is what it is. This is the prison. This is the prison yard. This is the cell block. This is what it is. There is no special housing.
Information is power.
Okay, BMT, what are your thoughts on the statement? It's a metaphor. Do we need to, when we migrate to the South or the North, wherever we live in this on this place we call America, as Black people, we need to operate in a different methodology and realize where we are. Like I said earlier, I don't know if you heard me. At one point in time, there were reports that they told Black people not to drive through Louisiana and parts of Florida because the troopers would purposely stop us thinking that we were drug dealers. Those were some of the reports. And then let me take it a step further and say historically, you had what they called the Green Book, which was a book that gave Black people during the 40s and the 30s and 20s a guide of safe passage driving through this country, places where they could go get a meal, where they could sleep, where they could rest, where they could be treated with dignity. because we could not drive in certain parts of this country. And even though we're in the 21st century where you think that we should be able to go anywhere we go, I was saying earlier that I, as a black man in California, there are places in California that I don't feel comfortable driving into, let alone other parts of the country by myself or just driving through. And I'm living in California. So BMT, what are your thoughts, brother?
It always amazes me when I had gotten into an argument with these college justice warriors or something, whatever the hell they call themselves. They wanted to go eat at a diner that one of the dang girls said, listen, only white people eat in that diner. Well, guess what? This is God's country. We can eat wherever we want to eat. And I told, and when she's like, well, I'm not going. She said, call my cousin. And she called me and I said, where y'all going to eat? And they said, well, we're going to eat in that diner. I said, why do y'all need to eat in that diner? Y'all got, they're like, well, why are you worried about race? Why are you worried about race? Like, I'm like, listen, man, y'all going to eat in that white people diner. Oh man, as big as you are, you military, you should be able to eat wherever you want to eat, man. I'm like, do you not notice you only see white people, white bikers going in there? Why would you want y'all? See, sometimes y'all don't understand, man. Y'all think just because the law says that you can eat there, don't mean that you should go eat there. That's you're not gonna have somebody who you know who is a racist give you open heart surgery. I don't know how y'all brain work on sometimes. And that's the thing about it. Like, you know, they went to go eat there in that diner. Like we didn't eat in there. You know, but they noticed that they didn't get fair treatment. You understand? Just because you can sit there don't mean they have to treat you with respect like a human being. You know, it is what it is. See, that's the thing about it, that a lot of blacks got in their mind that, well, the law says, well, guess what? The law at one time, and you got to forget, I want you to understand this. If not for certain rules, they don't have to treat you, your black ass, like a human being. Why do you think they got to keep certain amendments still up now? To remind them, oh, wait, we got to treat them like people. If those amendments were gone or down or some shit, guess what? They don't got to treat you like a person.
Wow.
So you got to see, that's the thing. And I mean, if you don't believe me, I could send you the documentary, brother, of the Geechee Gullah. They're still waiting. They buying up. They using black people to take the land from people who are ADOS 120%, who are black. Right. That literally are directly descended of slaves. They're waiting for them to either die off or they're trying to chop up the land and sell it off to white people. And the white man says, why do you do that? Why would you do that to your own people? He said, well, they just need to get over it. It's just the past. And you see, that's something you won't ever hit. See, that's the thing about it. We don't have no engraved code on how to deal with it. So when I see these talks on certain panels and certain ways on how certain men and women police and carry themselves, you'll never see a white panel talking about why we should be doing the things that they do. I've never seen white panels talk about swirling. And is it a good thing? We need it. Who cares about? You don't see those damn panels. You don't see them talk about the stuff that we talk about. Why? Because they have a code. And one thing about it is they'll never let a nigga ever chastise them and tell them how they need to be on code. That is why that white man had no problem telling those black men at that reparational court hearing, we gave you Obama. We gave you Obama. Now you can go look at the recording how he said that. That man's from the South. He said, "We gave you Obama. What? That was your reparation. What else are you complaining about? Why don't y'all want?" Because understand this, they pick and choose who they allow to sit at their table.
Mm-hmm.
You're no more than just a goddamn field slave trying to be a goddamn house nigga.
Okay, BMT, let me ask you a question. We got Ray Alexander who left this in the chat room. He says Tennessee is 16.79% black. Texas 11.8% black. Oklahoma is 10% black. Black District of Columbia is 47.1% black. So Washington, D.C. is still heavily black. But with this reverse migration of black people coming back to the South, and I had said earlier that during that election in the midterm 2018, I think as it relates to Doug Jones or some of these candidates, black women in particular, which they happen to leave out the fact that also black men voted. They contributed to the fact that some of these red states are changing a little bit because of the influx of black people who are traditionally right now have been voting Democrat for some years. And like I said, I don't like the Democrats. They have sold black folks down the river. I have my opinions about politics, but this is what I want to say. If black people are moving in a reverse migration back to the South, how could that impact going forward based on what happened in the midterms in 2018? How will that change because I think Ray Alexander believes that with black people moving there and coming up in numbers, that could give us some voting or some power politically. Do you think that politically, regardless of parties, brother, Republican or Democrat, do you think that black people will have significant political power, and it may change the way the South has been ever since LB signed the 1965 Voters' Right Act for black people, and he said that we have lost the South forever? And that was when a lot of things changed with the way people have traditionally voted in the South as it related to that 1965 Voters' Right Act. What are your thoughts?
You know, we stopped voting. We stopped trying to push for representation. The reason when I hear and I see black people say we should not vote, they like it when y'all say that. Mind you, I'm a Republican. But I argue I don't give a damn what party you are. Listen, I rent out a van and I go pick up people. I don't care for you, but I get mad when I don't see us trying to get into the school board. I get mad when I don't see us trying to get onto the city council. I get mad when I don't see us try to get in these seats. Mind you, they be open seats. But see, the one thing that they know is that the old blacks, the blacks who do know to vote, who do fight, they know that you're going to get old enough where you can't do this anymore. It's a waiting game. But see, the younger blacks, the ones who can do something. See, I'm not gonna lie, y'all piss me off because y'all do not compete. Y'all got it now where the whites and the Latinos do the voting, and they damn sure don't fuck with y'all. They don't like y'all around. They do not. They know how to hire you and fire you and kick your ass out off your property if it fall behind the taxes.
Well, let me do this, my man BMT. Let me go over to Lion's Den. He's been kind of quiet.
Go ahead,
brother. I don't want you to fall asleep on us. Lion's Den. You've been setting back. I gave BMT a bulk of time to speak because he was gone and I didn't know what happened to him, and I wanted him to be a part of the program. But you had time to sit back and take in everything that's been said. And I do agree with BMT that black people, we got to take if we're going to have these numbers, 47% of black folks in DC. If we've got these numbers in certain parts of the country, in the South in particular, we gotta take those numbers and be politically educated. We have to empower ourselves. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there are those out there who do not believe in politics, or politics as I call politics, because in politics, there are no permanent enemies. There's no permanent friends, only permanent interests. That's been the game of politics. And so we have to, as Black people, use our permanent interest to get what we want if the political game is going to work for us. I, for one, am not sure about that after doing this podcast based on the, and I'm going to release that. I have that podcast out there on the various podcast networks. I'm going to release it on my second channel. It's about the family, which was on Netflix. And after watching that, it has definitely convinced me, after watching some of it, because it's more, I have to watch more. I am convinced that the political game has been brought and sold for. And even with these evangelicals, they have these politicians in their back pocket. They've been manipulating them on a spiritual level for a long time. So Lions Den, that's just my little mantra right there. But Lions Den, what are your thoughts on anything that's on your mind? Not just on what I said, but anything that's on your mind.
Well, you got to think about why we are, couldn't afford our own neighborhoods anymore. And I felt that when we live in these old neighborhoods, we thought we felt safe until the billionaires come along. And the billionaires, and they know that we couldn't afford where we live at. So they basically bought off our property. And that's why you see people who couldn't afford living in those areas was move down to the South, because obviously they couldn't live. And but here's the thing, Info, and this is what trips me out about this. I've been living in the DC area for 24 years, and I seen a lot of changes when I was living up there. And like neighborhoods like Rhode Island Avenue was predominantly Black, and now it felt like living in the white suburbs now. How they fix it up in those areas. So it's so sad that we cannot have. And I was just thinking about the celebrities that we worship, but yet did not even have money to buy the properties that can keep Blacks from even leaving to those neighborhoods. So this is kind of concerning. Go ahead.
Nah, I'm gonna tell you right now, Lions Den. I'm not concerned with celebrities. We can't rely on celebrities to bring us salvation, because celebrities are, and for the most part, a lot of them are self-absorbed into what they're doing. The days of a Halle Berry Fonte, the days of the act of a Dick Gregory, the days of a Bill Russell, a Muhammad Ali, athletes who had a conscience. I know LeBron James has been doing a few things here and there, but those kind of athletes are gone, because those guys were willing to put their careers on the line for the betterment of Black people and of course themselves. I don't really see athletes today putting themselves on the line. Okay, now you could say, well, what about Kaepernick, right? But to me, the minute he took that money from Nike and he was quiet for some time, it kind of tarnished to me what he was trying to do. Okay, I agree with some of what he was doing based on my personal opinions around the flag and all these other issues. Jay-Z comes in, he gets a deal with NFL. We don't even know what the deal really is. And so that's why I say that we can't rely on celebrities. If we've got 32.18% of Black folks in Louisiana, as the brother says here, and we got 37.59% of Black folks in Mississippi, and 16.13% of Black folks, and we got Black folks in the South and all over the place, in Chocolate City at 47%, and we got Black people in Oakland, California, and variety, then we need to rely on ourselves and not wait on celebrities to save the day, while at the same time trying to sell us cigarettes and fried chicken and all this other stuff that we get into. I'm sorry, brother. We gotta rely on ourselves and be self-reliant on ourselves as a people. I think there's some celebrities out there that are doing some things that we don't know about, and I give them kudos. But overall, there's not enough of them speaking out and using their bully pulpit. Enough, in my opinion, because they're stuck in a situation where they're thinking about their career, and they're not going to give up their career for you or me, no more than we're not going to give up what we've got going to take care of our family. Let's just be honest about that. Let me put this up. Let me pop this off the screen. Let me disengage from something real quick. I want to show folks something right here, because this is the other part of the show as we get to conclusion of the program tonight. I want to show folks something, and I want this to resonate in your head. In the middle of the screen, here it comes. You see that? Lion's Den, you were in the store. Someone came up to you, and you were in the South, you're in Tennessee, and said,
Right.
oh, y'all sure like those watermelons. Watermelon. I got a problem with that. And we know historically that Black people have been stereotyped when it comes to watermelon, right?
Exactly.
Let me show you something else. Let me take that off the screen here. This is from an article. How watermelon, I'm tongue twisted right now, in a reputation that has got tangled up in racism, okay? Now, this is a picture. Let me just show you guys something. This picture right here is of a Black man, and you're thinking this is on Life magazine. This is the stereotypes that have permeated in this society. This is why, Lions Den, when you went out, you got that type of comment, because this is a part of American society, its psyche, its ideology that comes out of caricature. This was put on Life magazine in 1937. The cover of the August 9, 1937 issue of Life magazine is all about the watermelon. On its several watermelons are wedged into various spots in the back of a pickup truck, patched in along for the ride. Okay, his name is Roy E. Parrish. Okay, Roy Parrish. Okay, now racist stereotypes that has persist even today, one linking African Americans to pastimes such as munching on watermelon during the warm summer months. So they've done stereotypes of Black people munching on watermelon. There's caricatures of Black people eating watermelon. They have associated with something with us as a negative, right? You'll get these pictures of Black people eating watermelon with their chicken. And look at y'all. We done all ran out. We're all getting crazy over Popeye's fried chicken, their chicken sandwich. And we didn't gave Popeyes, by the way, it's not owned by Black people. We didn't gave Popeyes $23 million in free advertisement, doing our reviews on YouTube and social media and sitting in lines waiting to eat chicken. We can probably make the same chicken at home if we go to the store or go somewhere and get a good fresh chicken, kosher chicken, go home and cut it up and make multiple amounts of chicken sandwiches compared to what Popeyes is selling it for. $3.99 plus tax brings it to about $4 something, and you're waiting in a long line to get something that most of those chickens are raised not on proper chicken coops. They're raised all clanged up. So Black people today, they're using the same stereotypes about us to sell us products like Popeyes chicken sandwiches. I got to be honest. I've got to tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
So let me disengage from that real quick. Let me do something here and bring you brothers back up here. And I'm right there. So basically, let me get back to right here. There we go. We're 3. That's the article right there. So when you look at this, the stereotype, the image is a demeaning image in the Life Story magazine, as you can see here on the screen. Okay. The others, like it, played a pivotal role in turning a bigotry assumption into a lusting racial stereotype in the minds of white Southerners and Northerners. So when you experience that, Lions Den, with that guy, what happened to you, that is, the guy was playing into cultural conditioning. He's been culturally conditioned. Southerners still feel like they should have never lost the war, the Civil War. They're angry because Black people In some cases, they're not in slavery again. They've lost economics. It goes all the way back. It's cultural conditioning passed on from one generation to another. Okay. Now, the image involving food and Black people began in the early 1900s, folks. That's what's on the screen. The early 1900s is when a lot of this stuff started coming out. But during 1869, there was an illustration in a newspaper with cartoons of black and white cartoons showing 5 little Black boys sitting and standing in a doorway devouring watermelon. Newspapers and magazines and images printed them in photo spreading on stands along cartoons and ads and spaces. So what happens is when you put these images of us negatively in newsstands, in the mass media, such as your caricatures, everybody out there, check out a program called Ethnic Notions. Ethnic Notions shows you all these stereotypes, the mammy stereotype, the coon stereotype, all these stereotypes of Black people, and the whole thing about eating watermelon, getting eaten by gators or alligators and things of that nature. There's even been depictions historically. I think in 1869 was a depiction during those times where they had a Black man he had a watermelon in his hand, and he was trying to grab for a chicken, and he couldn't discern whether he wanted the chicken or he wanted the watermelon, right? He couldn't discern between the two, Lions Den. And it was a stereotype. These things have been a big part of American society. It's mom's apple pie, and it's a reality, and we can't get away from it. It has been a big part of American society, and this is where we get these stereotypes from. That's why you experience that. That's why I can experience that. But this is the thing I'm gonna tell everybody: don't be ashamed to eat your watermelon. Watermelon is good for your melanin. It's good for your health. It's an antioxidant. It builds up your immunities against cancers and things of that nature. So it's a great food dish. But we have been ashamed by it, by past history that still plays on our psyche as Black people. And it plays on the psyche of white people in the South who would do what you experienced, because they're reinforcing the cultural conditioning of Black people. Now, let's just be honest. Every ethnic group has a favorite dish that they enjoy eating. We can make all type of stereotypes about all different groups who eat certain things, okay? Everybody has a staple dish that they eat. So we should never be ashamed of what we eat. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I think people should really realize that, for example, watermelon, every fruit they have is very good for the body, for the melanin and everything else. And I also agree that we shouldn't be ashamed of eating watermelon. Because watermelon is a good fruit to eat. It helps you. It's vitamin C as well as vitamin A and K. The only thing I would like to say is that, my experience with that incident is that sometimes there's people going to be ignorant anyway. So basically, sometimes you just basically got to ignore the ignorance. And that's how I learned about that situation, that if it happens to me, it can happen to anybody as well.
But let me tell you, I'm getting a little feedback. Let me tell you this, Lions Den. I hope everybody can hear. I think I know why I'm getting that feedback. I got to turn something on my mix board down. Let me go into the chat room and see what people are saying. But I think Lions Den, I think that as a black man in the 21st century, we should not be surprised by these things still happening. And I believe that when it happens, to be honest with you, it's a terrible thing to experience. I've experienced things like that before too. It's a terrible thing to experience. But as I said before, I rather have someone who's an honest racist that's willing to tell me what they think than be around people who you think are your friends that are acting like they're nice and they like you, and they're doing everything to backstab you behind the front. Mm-hmm. So that's why, for me personally, when I experience racism, it doesn't get me all flustered, because if you got to recognize where you live and what environment that you're in. Jason Black said you are in a prison environment. Neely Fuller Jr. spoke about this. You are in a prison environment, and if you're in this environment, then you are subject to anything happening to you at any time based on if someone is directly racist towards you, whether it's direct racism, institutionalized racism, you are subject to it. I don't think any black person in America, if you're woke a little bit, you should not be surprised by these realities. I'm not surprised by it. I'm not minimizing what you experience, brother, but we have to be honest with ourselves in these realities. Lions, then you got anything you want to add, or brother BMT, as we get to the conclusion of the program tonight?
I would like to thank each and every one of you guys for joining in. You can check out my my YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. It's Lions Den #ADOS. I'm bringing up news and commentary, by the minute, all day, every day. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at The Real Lions Den. You can follow me on Instagram at _real_lions_den #2, and Snapchat and Lions Den 39.
Right. Let me read something real quick. Here. Dollar Slade said that Popeye stuff was radical. They had Janet Jackson getting escorted by the police to go get a sandwich. You could tell that was a direct hit in the agenda to the urban black community radically. Let me tell you what's going on. The whole Popeye food phenomena or sandwich phenomena is a distraction, black folks. It's a distraction. While we're spending time talking about eating sandwiches, and don't get me wrong, I like to eat food. I like chicken too. I'm not going to lie to you. I like to enjoy a good meal. But why we got caught up in the phenomena of Popeyes is getting us off of focusing on the things that we really need to focus on to build our communities. We're too busy talking about Popeyes. And you got Negroes going into Popeyes, buying the sandwiches, and then coming outside dancing and twitching and twirling around and shaking their booties over Popeyes. And guess what? We don't own Popeyes. How many of you got stock in Popeyes? Because they're making a lot of money right now. What you should have done is you should have went out and got stock in them. Or what we should have done is we should have taken the $23 million, like my man Rizzo said, and we should have given $23 million to black businesses. Okay.
Jesus.
About that, we should have given that money to black businesses that are selling us food, healthy food. Okay, by the way, that's what we should have been doing. Okay.
If I sent you something to your messenger.
Instead of running around giving Popeyes, that's my crows again. Instead of running around giving Popeyes all our money, hey, if the sandwiches are good, they're good. But that's the biggest talk in the black community right now. I can't believe it. It's crazy. Let me fix my camera focus here. I'll be glad when these guys at StreamYard upgraded to the 1080p. They haven't upgraded it up to 1080p yet. I'm using my webcam right now. So let me go back in the Lions Den and my man BMT. Any words, brother?
Yeah, I sent you the 2 cartoon actual videos on YouTube.
Okay.
It's in your messenger of how one with the watermelon, of how they showed the Black American consume watermelon and how they showed it to kids and people. It was a mockery. You understand these stereotypes. And then the other one was with Elmer Fudd. Elmer Fudd was originally a black man.
That's right.
Elmer Fudd was originally a black man, big feet, big forehead. The caricatures, they just turned him white. But actually, you can look it up. Elmer Fudd was actually a black man, but they didn't want to come off. Once they already put it out there, but you gotta understand, Tom and Jerry, Tom belonged to an Angie Mama, a woman, a black woman, a big black woman with stockings. Y'all gotta understand the imagery that they put out there on social media. And then the reason why I bring that up is y'all saying, BNT, why you bring that up? And the reason why I bring that up is because what they done showed us, because I never ate that damn chicken.
Okay.
I don't plan to. And you know, I'm trying to tell y'all, we are lost children in the desert right now. If all it took was goddamn them showcasing chicken, and then niggas go crazy for that. But see, notice we ain't talking about that voting, that we ain't talking about that voting bill anymore. We ain't talking about that reparation bill. Notice that we ain't talking about that reparation bill when we heard about Jay-Z. We ain't talking about that reparation bill when we heard about chicken. We ain't talking about it's like every time we have a serious conversation, every time where it's starting to actually do something, it just takes a trending topic. It just takes some celebrity. And it's like, and go. It's like somebody just hit action and we just stop giving a fuck. Not one celebrity, other than Danny Glover, who was there, spoke about that shit. Now, it's amazing to me that Jay-Z's talking about this shit right here. Kaepernick was talking about his social justice, but why did none of them bring up that reparation bill?
Right.
I'm just saying, like, if y'all gonna have to talk to me, BMT, about this one. But I'm like, all y'all celebrities can talk about all the injustices, but the one bill that can literally start correcting everything and start a catalyst of healing, none of these motherfuckers wanted to bring it up. Why? Because they understood that at the end of the day, they have to answer to the master. And the master, literally, none of them could have put their money into that. See, they understand I could put out chicken, I could put out sneakers, I could put out anything stupid. And I know how, see, this is why they got that video, how to sell to the Negro. And because they scientifically already indoctrinated our children, because the children look at the imagery of what is hop, popping. You look at the conversation that we have. If something happens in America, do you not notice that the algorithm is that's what everybody on Black YouTube will talk about, but we won't talk about the issues that we have? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's a BMT is. I'm trying to save somebody tonight. Just look at the algorithm of how it is.
Right.
In the conversation, sometimes, and you gotta have a heart where sometimes you gotta say, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not, I don't have time for this shit. Right. Like, we need to talk about some stuff. I was one of 700 kids. I was the only Black man. I didn't hear that one Black man bring up that is a man literally bring up, hey, school's starting. Let's start talking about what we need to be on code about for our children. But the thing about it is they want us to talk about the shit that literally does not matter or give a flying fuck. Why? Excuse my language. I don't mean to be cursing, but I'm getting it now. That the social, the psychological and info, you know what I'm talking about, where if they put it in front of a child or they put it in front of a people long enough, they psychologically start to breed it and think it. Right. And that's the thing about it, why you got to look at the trend, vote or die. 1 minute we're for voting, next minute, fuck voting. I don't want to vote. Then I'm like, wait, but you forget that's the whole purpose of why our people were fighting and dying for representation. But if you don't like the representation, but mind you, the representation that represents you is not the people that you put there.
So let me ask you this, and I'm going to go to Lions then as we get ready to conclude, brother. So in the nutshell, even if you have reverse migration of Black people moving back to the South, what does it matter if we bring in the same mindset? So if your mindset living in the North is a mindset in which you're not striving for anything that really is empowering yourself, your family, and your community, then you'll just bring that same mentality to Atlanta, to North Carolina, South Carolina, where you are, Florida, wherever you are. And if you are a person in the South who's got your head in the sand and you're not thinking on a conscious level, and you move to the West Coast or the East or whatever, you're going to bring whatever your mentality. People bring whatever their mentality is when they are not enlightened, when they're not woke or educated to whatever. And I just see that where Black people are moving to the South for a better way of life. But are we bringing tangibles when we move around? Okay, are we transferring something that our kids can really lay their heads on? Are we leaving a legacy? Are we leaving property to our kids, right? It doesn't make a difference if you keep moving around this country for a better life, but are we leaving property? Are we leaving a will? Are we leaving life insurance to our children? Are we building something? Are we working together? One of the things that I'm disappointed in right now, brother BMT, is that on YouTube, I'm not happy with some of the beefing that's going on. I'm not getting involved in it. I'm not naming names, but I'm not happy about it because we've got bigger fish to fry as a people in our individual bubbles where we live. We need to be putting our energy towards things that are constructive, not destructive. I was listening to Sean James, and he says, what have Black people, he took a critical eye. What have Black people on YouTube built within the 10 years that they've been on YouTube? What has been built? What structure besides the arguing and the beefing? What can we build, and why haven't we not built networks? For example, we're using StreamYards right now, right? You can't tell me that there's not enough intelligent brothers and sisters on YouTube and in this world that we could have not come up with the idea of creating a streaming systems. The white boys that created this, they didn't create an app, they created a streaming system, and they're going to be laughing all the way to the bank. Right. We could have done that, right? When Google went out, we got enough brothers that but if you're fighting each other and tearing each other's channels down, which is what Sean James was talking about, channels never reach their potential. You never reach what you're supposed to be when you've got some jealous person out there in your own race tearing you down, fighting over beef. You arguing with someone that's 1,000 miles away from you that you ain't never gonna see half the time, okay, in person, and you're arguing and you're trying to argue your points, and it ain't really gonna change that person's mind. We are our own people. So Lions Den, any last words, brother? Because I'm gonna come back over to BMT. Any last words you wanna bring up?
My final thoughts is that, don't let ignorance get into your system. Always focus on the positive and always stay woke. Do not let Popeye's chicken distract in what we're fighting for. And obviously we're fighting for one goal, and that's reparations. And I agree with BMT when he said what he says, that we've been distracted. We lost sight of what we're focusing on. When it comes to the Jay-Z situation, when it comes to the Popeyes chicken sandwiches phenomenon, we as Black people ain't got time for that. So what we have to do now is focus on what we need to focus on, and that's uplifting our people and focus on getting our reparations. That's all info, and I'm out.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. I never thought the day would come that we would get ourselves distracted by chicken sandwiches. Chicken. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Chicken sandwiches. Popeyes got $23 million of free advertisement. They got paid big money. And I know there's YouTubers on YouTube who got big channels. I bet you didn't make as much money advertising their sandwich. Oh, not to mention the other sandwich place. They got cross advertisement. Yep. When everybody doing that comparison over what's a better sandwich than this better, man, it's all junk, folks. Nothing is better than the healthy food you can cook at home. Carl's opinion, once again, man, you've been my Carl's opinion is financing me. He's financing my show. Thank you for the super chat again.
Thank you for the super chat.
So even though we're all caught up in the Popeyes thing, don't let it distract us from what we really need to be doing when we leave these streams and we leave these shows. I want to thank everybody who has stayed with my live stream as long as you have. I know that there's other people that are probably on live that you want to check out. But I really appreciate y'all spending the time over here to hear us talk about this issue. Let me disengage from this, brother. Let me pop you up right quick, brother BMT. I want to thank you for coming over and joining me. I'm actually glad that you came in the chat room. It was God sent because I needed to have someone like yourself who lives in another person who lives in a southern state with your experience to bring some perspective to this conversation tonight, brother. So I want to thank you for being here.
Always, brother. You know, you just have to just email me and just hit me up and say, BMT, come on over. I always will come. I will always come.
Right. Queen, I know I am. Yes, we're being bamboozled. And Jasmine, it's good to see you here, sister. Thank you for being here. Let me facts. I like the brother Aduvian. What's up to you? That's a shame. Yeah, Earl Owens is definitely a shame. Let's see. Dallas Lake Church is owned by the king. Yeah, Church is chicken. I've heard that back in the day that they're owned. I don't know if they could. There's some facts to that. I've been hearing a lot of things about that over the years. Carl's opinion says Black income spend power increases over 100% from 1945 to 1954, the fastest during that time. Wow. Many white people don't know how to speak to Black people. Henceforth, the training film to teach white salesmen how to talk to African American male. Very good point, Carl's opinion. Very good point that you bring up. That's true. I would agree with that. Let's see. Everybody out there, I want to thank you for being here. I'm about to end the show now. I thank you, BMT, brother. Thank you for being here. Make sure y'all check out brother BMT's channel. Give him a subscribe to the brother. Lions Den. Let everybody know where they can find you one more time before I get ready to hit that music and get on out of here.
Yes, you can find me on follow me on Twitter at The Real Lions Den. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Lions Den #ADOS. Snapchat me at LionsDen39 and follow me on Instagram at _real_lions_den2.
All right, brother. All right, Lions Den, BMT, thank you for being here. Everybody in the chat room, thank you. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's comments tonight. I did put some comments in the on the screen for people to see their comments and to talk about it. I thank everybody for being here. Once again, this is the Information Man. Thank you for being here tonight. I thank the guests, BMT and Lions Den, for being here and holding it down. I really appreciate that. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Information Man Show.
Information is power. You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
The Information Man podcast can be heard on 9 major platforms. On the second YouTube channel as well, Information Man Speaks Podcast. Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Castbox, SoundCloud, and finally, Spreaker.
Information is power. Information is power.
Tell the truth.
Information is power. Information is power. You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Information is power.
Thank you, everybody, for your support tonight. Peace and love.